everybody, it's Christina Marie Weber, and I run a company called Christian Biz Owners on Fire, and we help faith-based and spiritual business owners who want a more fulfilling business or ministry, of putting God, their purpose, and their relationships first on a daily basis. So those of you that have been following our channel know that once a month I do an educational video, and I come up with the topic based on either a direct question a prospect, a client, or someone following me has asked me, or it could be something I just noticed in the business world or the world in general that I think really pertains to entrepreneurs or business owners, that I think I would have the area of expertise and could offer some suggestions about that area. So this month's question or topic is the business time audit. So I heard this and I totally agree with this. When you get your time right, you get your money right. So the first time someone had suggested that I do a business or a time audit was when I was, earlier in business. I was a very time sensitive time in terms of I was very spread thin. Relatively new single parent of 3 kids, very active life, transitioning my business from a therapy practice to a coaching practice, so it wasn't even like I had a real dialed in business. I was just really had very difficult time getting all the things I needed to get done then. And so someone suggested that I do a coach I was working with actually suggested I do a 3-day time audit. Every 15 minutes, log in what you're doing. Since then, I've embraced the idea, but it was very illuminating. I was able to see a lot of things that I could improve the time that I had. So it's really, your time is so important as a business owner. So I want to talk about 3 elements that we really need to think about if we want to have that holistic vision. So the first is, there's a fallacy that your personal life and your business life are separate. They really aren't. It's one life, okay? So depending on your state of life or situation, but especially as business owners, if we don't have a boss breathing down our neck dictating what we need to be doing in our business, it's really easy. You can have 1 or 2 problems. One is your business professional life can bleed into your personal life, or your personal life can bleed into your professional life. And it's either one of those, something's out of whack, but that can easily happen. The other thing about when you believe in that myth that your personal and your business life are separate, and I'm just talking to people that are self-employed or that have control over their schedules. So obviously if you're working for someone and they want you to be there and devote your time to that, you contractually need to do that. But I'm talking about the other people that have a business. If you're seeing them as separate in that way, you're really not taking advantage of not being constrained by the 9 to 5 schedule. So when you can kind of look at your life more holistically, you start to organize like errands logistically, doing different kinds of personal and business tasks that match your energy levels and preferences, not just a set schedule. I kind of have a Latina schedule, I basically work a little bit later in the night, I eat later, I take a siesta. But I have found that's the schedule that actually works the best so when I am working and doing things that require more brain power, I'm more with it because I adapt to that. And the other thing that can happen is when that blur of your business and personal life, you can really allow others to take advantage of your flexibility. And I feel badly sometimes for stay-home moms, because it's kind of like people think they just have all this time, and they do have more flexibility, but it's really easy for them to get kind of piled on with volunteer this and do that when you don't have that. I've got to be at work right now. It's easier to say no. And sometimes I think people take advantage of that. So that's the first thing, is your personal life and your business life are not separate. So you need to know point 2 is know your work and your job description. Okay, so how you're going to take the data from a time audit and look at it and come up with a plan moving forward Depends on your role. Are you a solopreneur? Are you a CEO? Are you a manager? Do you just have a job that you're just a kind of an Indian with a chief as a boss? Are you a mom with a biz? Okay. So, whatever your role is will help you take that data from the simple business data time audit and say, is this matching that role? A solopreneur, for example, has a lot of different responsibilities, and you've got to attend to all of them because if you don't have someone else doing it, it still needs to get done. So that's a different role. A CEO should have, it may be a more of a larger organization, should have other people doing those tasks, some of those other tasks, and they really need to be doing the strategy, doing the things that the CEO role requires, building relationships, building the brand, whatever it is. If you're a manager, then you need to be interacting with your team and making sure they're doing what they need to do, offering the support, helping them develop. If you're a mom with a biz, if your primary thing is being, taking care of your kids, then you need to order things that way. So if you don't work it so that some of your time you can prioritize your business, you won't have a business, okay? So, but you would prioritize the needs of the family first, and then the time you would do with your business. But something else has to give, or you're going to have no time for your business. So really, you need to know your work and your work description. What are you supposed to be doing? And then that time audit, you just look at it, it's like, does this match it? What's getting in the way? When I log every 15 minutes, what am I doing? What's my role? What should I be doing? And the third thing is, once you've had the bug of this, when I first was proposed to track my time, I was like, oh, what the horrible recommendation. Now I track every minute. So I would encourage, if you really see the value, use a time tracking, time chunks to ensure you're hitting all the buckets. So I actually used a free program. They went out of business this year, Xpunch, where you just clock in, categorize what you're doing, and then you could look at a report each week. I've switched over to Clockify, which is another free program. They're really good. And so now that you know, okay, this is what my time looks like now, this is where in my role, if I was functioning optimally, what it should look like. And then that time tracking system will help you monitor that. Like, well, where am I? If I wasn't at that ideal state, let's move towards that. What can I do to get there? What's robbing some of my time? What do I need to adjust? In fact, I had a guy, it was a prospect, and I'm big on the holistic vision, not just your business vision or your personal vision. It's because I don't see them as separate. I see them as all going together. And one of the things he said, well, what's the key to making that work for yourself? And I think it's the time chunks, because once you know what you should be doing now, of course you need to know what you need to do in that time chunk. But the first thing is you need to allocate the time. And so once you know that, you can see if you're off. You can see if something's pulling you in a direction. And some things you can't control, but you control as much as you can. And if you don't have the data and you don't know, it's hard to even know where to start. But I do think that is the key to having that holistic success. And as a solopreneur, all the parts are important. I've done times when I've hit certain ones, ignored other ones, and it bit me in the rear. There's certain things you need to do in a business. They all need to get done, or you're going to suffer in some way. Using time chunks and time chunk goals help you do all the tasks, not just the ones you like. This is the problem. When you don't have the boss breathing down your neck, it's really easy. Well, I don't feel like doing this, or I don't like doing my numbers, or I don't like doing this. And without any kind of accountability, unless you want other people to constantly be your accountability, this is a way to be your own accountability system. You can log your time, you can look at what you're doing, you can see where the gap is. It's just a way to be a mature business owner and not just do the things you like, but the things that are going to move the needle forward. And not feel guilty when you leave work, because you're like, okay, look, this is my goal for the week. of these different things, this is done. I can relax. The relaxation part is as fun, is as important as the work part. And having the time chunks, if you've been raised to be kind of more productive and working all the time, you can feel guilty not working when you've done your areas, and that's another benefit of that. So to conclude, time audits illuminate unrealistic scheduling and goals. By the way, I did a little time audit myself of my typical, or what I know I need to get done. Since I time everything, I time tasks and everything, so I know, okay, it's going to take me this amount of time to do a YouTube video. It's going to take me this amount of time to do a podcast, or this amount of time to write client notes. I've got it down. So what I did was I put it all down, like, okay, this is what I'm saying I want to get done in a week. Well, that ended up adding up to about 75 hours. And I work about 45 right now, 45 to 50 on a good week. But so that doesn't work, you know. So I had to look at it, and it helped me step back and evaluate, well, maybe I could do a monthly newsletter rather than every week, or maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that. It helped me make decisions so that realistically I'm not going into every week setting myself up to not hit the targets. And then it gets back to, then you can't relax because, oh, I didn't get this done. But the problem was the unrealistic target, and that time audit will help you see that. Time audits aid in productivity and profitability improvements. Like I said, I measure the time it takes us to do stuff, so then we can look at, okay, how can we be more efficient? What technology can we use to make this task be done quicker? So that's a great, and then when you're more productive, you're more profitable. If you can do what you need to do in less time, that's more profitable. So work can eclipse your personal life, or vice versa, if you do not have a handle on time. It's just so essential. So if you found this helpful, I'd love to help you with this. And really the starting place is, I do a paid service called a Manifesting Your Vision session. It's where I'll sit down with you. I have a pre-consultation survey that is optional, but it helps you kind of pre-think what you'd like to focus on in that session, and what parts of your vision, and I help you really clarify, because that's where it starts. If you don't know where you're going, how are you going to know where to spend your time, you know, or what's your priorities are at this stage in life? You have different seasons of life, there's priority changes. So that's what I do, is I help you figure that out, and then I'll give you several concrete suggestions of how to get there quicker, faster, better. So if you're interested in doing that, you can schedule that right on my website, talkwithchristina.com. And you can book that vision session, and I would love to do that with you. Take care.